let's just first, let me ask you this. Had you ever made this kind of money before in your career on a single deal, or even better yet, had you ever made this kind of money in a decade of your prior life?
Definitely never made the kind of money on a single deal. And I would say, I've been in real estate for 20 plus years. So I'd say this one deal maybe equaled the previous 20 years. So
wow,
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the years. And I think for me, the smartest decision I ever made, and that was part of joining the VestRight course, but also deciding I just want to do fewer, bigger deals. And, and that the result has been, I'm not quite as crazy busy. I'm not working 70 hours a week. I'm not as stressed out. There's just fewer moving parts,
Hey everyone. Hey, Cody Bugan here from VestRight. Recently been called AKA the Dirt Dog. So I think I'm going to roll with that. But I have the privilege today of being with a student of ours that graduated our course and is going to share with us a very cool and exciting, actually quite humbling for me, fulfilling. Mike, I don't want to say this in a weird way, but also just makes me very proud. And Mike took our business model, which we've all got to remember, which is prospecting raw land that has development potential. Because remember, that development potential is where you bring the value add. And if you want to make real money in real estate, and in my opinion, the right way to make money is you've got to add value to the asset. And so through taking this raw land that has development potential and turning it into an approved development through jurisdictional approval process, you bring tremendous value and you're serving everybody. You're taking care of the property owner because you're paying a market value or maybe even greater. You're bringing value to the jurisdiction because you're getting these developments approved, and you're bringing value to your buyers because they need these approved projects. They need places where they can develop, where they can provide housing for our country, because there definitely is a shortage there. So I won't keep ranting here, but with that said, so I have Mike Foley here, which just had a phenomenal deal. He did an amazing job. And so, Mike, say hi to everybody.
Hey, Cody. Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Excited to share my story. I think it's going to be, impactful and inspirational for some of the people in the VestRight program. So excited to be here.
And that's what I say all the time, Mike, is it's like, I can talk about my stories all the time, but at the end of the day, hearing it from someone like yourself is so much more impactful and inspiring. And before we started recording here, I was telling you how, my shirt, my personal slogan, PIF, Purpose, Impact, Fulfillment. It's really cool when someone like yourself can kind of be a part of that mission or journey with me, in that by you sharing your story. And I know potential students have reached out to you before they join the course, or current students have reached out to you that are in the middle of the course. And for you just to kind of join us in that mission is really cool for us, and hopefully PIF brings value to your life like it does for mine. So
it does. That's why I was asking you for my my PIF gear.
So I made a commitment.
Where do you sign up for that?
I'm going to get Mike some PIF gear, and it sounds like I need to do more of that. So let's start off with this. One, I just want to say thank you for you being willing to share.
Sure.
And secondly, the next thing is, so by the way, I'm just going to be open here, transparent, vulnerable, authentic, whatever you want to say. My team, I hate scripts. I absolutely hate scripts. Everything I do is just authentic from the hip. My team gave up a few years ago on putting me on scripts, okay? With that said, for these interviews, they do give me specific questions they want me to ask. So if you see me looking over here, it's because I'm looking at the next question they want me to ask, all right? So I just want to throw that out there. So first question, what were you doing prior to land acquisition?
Flipping houses, building houses. on a small scale. So used to live in Southern California up until 2016, and then we moved to the Raleigh market, kind of greener pastures, and just continued doing the same thing, but on a little bit bigger scale. Again, flipping houses, wholesaling houses, and doing some small development deals, which was all great, but ended up kind of falling into a land deal that worked out. And once it worked out, the light bulb went off, and this is like, there's something here, and wanted to start pursuing it, but realized like I know a little bit, but there's a big learning curve on stuff that I don't know. So that's how I came across VestRight and signed up to kind of fill in the blanks, all the things that I didn't know. So that's been good.
That's
and
awesome.
it's really, I've been in real estate for a long time, and I've been telling a lot of people that I know that I'm close with, like this niche is great. It is a blue ocean strategy. You're solving a huge need, not only in Raleigh, but across the country. I mean, there is a housing shortage. I mean, that's what's driving up the price of houses. So, the builders need lots, the communities need houses. It's a great niche to be in. And, the builders don't want the land. They need the middleman like us. So, So for me, I'm real excited about the deals I've done, but the future is even brighter.
Yeah, it's so good. They two things came to mind as you were talking there. One is, the house wholesaler, the house flipper, the home builder that's building homes onesie twosie. So you're in the industry, but in real estate, but it's like it's one of our avatars that we actually focus on because it's a way to just level up the game and take it to a whole nother level. And which leads me into my next thing is that, one thing we talk a lot about in our marketing is that this is not a get rich quick scheme, that you've got to work hard. You got to get your reps in, that you got to get educated, all these things. We're not promising you to become a millionaire tomorrow. But what we are saying is that if you follow our system and what we teach you, and you get in enough reps, and you're resourceful, and you work the system, you have the opportunity to become a millionaire, and potentially even on one deal, right? And so, but then someone said to me the other day, and you might have heard this, Mike, the other day when I was doing that webinar, is that a person said to me, that they're like, well, Cody, no, it actually is a get rich quick. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, Cody, you show me how many other models out there like this, where you can make this kind of money with this limited amount of capital or risk. Like, it is a get rich quick business model. And it just kind of shifted my mindset on it. And Mike, before I was with you, and by the way, I apologize again for being a few minutes late. I was with someone that was interviewing to become the COO of Allied Development. And we're in this Zoom conference prior to this. And he's been in real estate his whole life, and even in land development, but he actually does all the construction. And I laid out to him exactly our model, and it was like this light bulb went on. And so anyways, I'm just so glad you stumbled across it. So the next question they have for me is, when did you join the program? So when was it that you joined?
I think fall 2020.
Fall of 2020.
No, actually, sorry, I take it back. 2021.
Fall of 21. Okay.
Yeah, lots has happened since then. So it's hard to keep up, but
okay, fall of 21. All right. So, okay, all right. So I'm going to dive into the details of the deal you did. And Mike, I want you to share as much as you're comfortable sharing. All right. But let's just first, let me ask you this. Had you ever made this kind of money before in your career on a single deal, or even better yet, had you ever made this kind of money in a decade of your prior life?
definitely never made the kind of money on a single deal. And I would say, I've been in real estate for 20 plus years. So I'd say this one deal maybe equaled the previous 20 years. So
Wow.
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the years. And I think for me, the smartest decision I ever made, and that was part of joining the VestRight course, but also deciding I just want to do fewer, bigger deals. And, and that the result has been, I'm not quite as crazy busy. I'm not working 70 hours a week. I'm not as stressed out. There's just fewer moving parts, not that the deals are easy, but there's just fewer of them. And I used to be doing these, 5-lot subdivisions. And what I learned is, 5-lot subdivision versus a 200-lot subdivision, it's not 40 times more work. It might be a little bit more work, but the payoff can be, 40, 50 times greater. So that was a key decision. And then, the whole VestRight course just is all part of doing these fewer, bigger deals.
Yeah. And when you were doing, say, like a little 4 or 5 lot project, were you doing the actual construction?
Oh yeah, that was my MO. Taking the project from raw dirt, getting it entitled, building out the infrastructure, building the houses. These deals would take forever to get done, and we actually
a lot of capital and a lot of risk, right?
And a lot of risk. Yeah, we got caught in 2008, and again, that kind of came in to the decision to back off the building and let's find a different model where we're not taking that huge risk, or we're basically our whole livelihood is being at risk on a personal guarantee on some giant construction loan when we know the market can change or you can run into problems on a project. I mean, you're
I know
all kinds of it. So I've learned that on a small scale. It's like I don't want to, I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to go through that pain of 2008 again. So, so let's find a better way to do it where, you're not taking a huge amount of risk. You're doing kind of the low risk and the big reward. I mean, that's I don't care what genre your investment in, you want the low risk high reward. So this is 100% there. So, I'm kind of cured of my desire to be building houses right now with supply chain and all that. And it's, I've got buddies that are building houses and I haven't built a house in a couple of years. And I used to say I would miss it, but right now I'm not missing it at all.
Well, it's interesting because I've been a home builder myself, and I would argue that going and building a house has more people to manage, more boxes to check to make sure you do it correctly, you complete the process. I would say it's more of a headache than doing this model that you and I now do, right? And it's less risky too, because you can't really get caught holding the bag like you did in 08 and like I did in 08. And the best part of it is you said it takes less time, because you used to go raw land all the way through a finished house. It takes less time, it takes less capital, and it's less risky. But yet you made more on this one deal than you did 20 years doing what you used to do. Like, dude, if that's not fulfillment for me, purpose, impact, I don't know what it is. Like, knowing that I was in some way a part of that with you through VestRight is a huge blessing for me. So, okay, everybody continue to hang with us, because I promise you we're going to dive into the details of Mike's deal in a second. But before we do, let me just ask you this. Before you joined us, what was an obstacle, doubt, or objection that would have prevented you from investing in our program? So, Mike, or maybe nothing did, because you were already kind of working on this land deal that fell in your lap. Let me ask you this way. How did you find VestRight?
That's a great question. I don't know if it was a Facebook ad or maybe just a search.
Okay.
Seeing a video of you and David Hill
Yeah.
somewhere I came across. I think you guys were maybe just starting
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do, the education. So it was kind of at the very beginning. So I think, the skepticism is like, you know, or maybe thinking, I already know this stuff. What else is there for me to know? Like
Yeah.
what can I learn from these guys? But also, um, does this really work? I mean, it almost sounds a little bit too good to be true, right? I mean, what we're talking
Totally.
about, high reward, low risk. I mean, everybody, there's so many different real estate
Yeah.
courses and gurus, and everybody's telling you to do this and do that. So I think we're all a little bit jaded, about what's the reality. So I think,
That's my
I could
biggest
see that.
challenge.
Yeah, I could see that people are like, you can, it just sounds too good to be true. So,
Yep.
but
What happened
it's
is
not.
because of so many people in the education space that are out there saying buy this, buy that, high pitch, high pressure, making all these huge promises. They have this great pitch, but then there's not fulfillment on the other side, meaning that it is too good to be true, right? And so that's the biggest challenge I have, or that VestRight, my education company, has, is how for people to realize that it's different here, right? And so at the end of the day, I'm glad you went and made the leap of faith. Was it when you were thinking? So now that you know our business model, or even if you didn't, when you saw people out there doing big projects like me, right? What was the biggest obstacle or objection or mindset, or what was the biggest thing holding you back prior to this deal slash VestRight, you going and attempting it yourself?
I think a lot of it is the deals, they can take a while to get to the finish line. So a lot of it was my own personal, just short-term thinking. Like, oh, I can wholesale a deal here and make, 10 grand, and I can flip this house and make 35 grand. So just not having the long-term thinking, just really thinking short-term, and having these deals come into my radar, and not saying no to them. Just
Yeah.
like it really was a mindset thing. Like, I've got to have faith that, this type of deal, it's going to take a while, but there's a little pot of
Yeah.
gold at the end of the rainbow there. So, and
Yeah.
and really the biggest thing was to say no to a business model that was making me money, good money, but
Yeah.
just saying no to people sending me deals, and I'm saying no, I'm not interested, and them going like, what do you mean this is a good deal? So
Yeah.
that was the process, so, and I could see how that's going to be true for other people.
I think, fear, gosh, what a frustrating thing. I mean, and people do. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest things that hold people back is the fear of the unknown. So I'm really glad you jumped into it. Would you say that, I mean, obviously education, knowledge, it's power, and it makes the unknown less unknown, right? To
Yeah.
where it removes some of the fear. Do you feel like VestRight helped you overcome that mindset, which was the fear of the unknown?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I knew enough to, be dangerous coming in. So I,
Yeah.
I, I knew there was opportunity out there, but there's a lot of things that I didn't know, and I wasn't sure about, and I wasn't confident about. And I mean, that's really, really why I joined the course. Is I had a couple of deals in our contract, and I learned quickly, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And the broker that brought me the deals, he couldn't help me out. And there's, I'm dealing with some national and local builders, and things are moving fast, and I quickly realized, like, I need I need help. I mean, things are coming up every week, and I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't have anybody to turn to. So that was part of the big attraction, is that there's someone out there who's been through this and has dealt with all of these things along the way. So to me, the weekly calls with David Hill, that was a savior right there. I mean, I would show up every week with like 5 questions on stuff that had popped up. Like, hey, how do I deal with this? What do I do here? Like, like there's lots of twists and turns. So being able to navigate that and to have help navigating it was, I think, a huge key to the success.
That's interesting. There is a lot to it, right? And it's one thing, myself and David Hill, we did pour our long career into our programs, and it's been a real blessing because, and Mike, you may have heard me talk about this before, but when you have an online business or an education business like this, usually your refund rates or your chargeback rates are really, really high. So much so that you're constantly monitoring it because merchants will shut you down, right? Where they'll no longer process your payments. And literally at VestRight, our refund rate or chargeback rate is like minuscule, meaning that we never have to monitor it because it's like basically non-existent. And it's just, so you feel like, do you feel like VestRight, the program, I don't know if you've done other programs or courses, but do you feel like for what you paid, you got the value out of it, or even more than the value out of it?
Yeah, I've gotten way more out of it than I put into it. And I started at the kind of the base, just the course level.
Yeah.
And have continued, I think I've just signed up for the 3rd time. So on a little bit higher level along the way. So I've, traveled all the way up the ladder, and it's been great. I mean, it's like anything else, you want to educate yourself to speed up that learning curve. But also in this business, you don't want to make a mistake that could cost, a lot of money, either that, you're shelling out or you're leaving on the table. I mean, I think that is really the biggest thing is to have the confidence that you've got something valuable, and you're dealing with land acquisition guy who he wants to get it at the best deal. He's not necessarily your friend in the deal. So you've got to know what your value is. And I think that was, to me, huge part of what I got out of the course. Not only, the nuts and bolts, like the due diligence. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know that I was doing wrong. And then, how to sell them, how to deal with the buyers. Because I had no experience, I was just doing everything myself. So I had no experience with these guys. And, now I know, they need us more than we need them. And just having that confidence allows you to become much better in the negotiating. And if you're good at negotiating, you're going to end up, doing a lot better on the deal. So
you brought up a really good point. You brought up a really good point, because when you look at the education and what that costs, let's just say, versus one little thing, and it might not even be that it's going to cause you to lose money, but it's how much additional money you might make by knowing this one thing. It's like the cost of the education's like, it doesn't even exist. It's a blip on the radar versus
basically minuscule part of it. Yeah. So I mean, especially if this is a model that you like and you want to dive into it. I mean, you've got to educate yourself. I mean, there's so many, it's not simple, the concept is simple.
Yeah. The concept, and even quite frankly,
the nuts and the bolts,
the steps to the process, there's actually not that many steps, like compared to like building a house, but there's a decent amount of knowledge you need to have in order to complete those couple of steps.
Yeah, a lot goes on in between. Yeah. So I would say, going back to your point about building houses, like I'd say my phone rings maybe 10% of what it used to ring. Like,
oh, I love it
all day long. Drywall guy, electrician.
That's where time freedom comes in.
I'm dealing with a handful of people. I've got like a couple engineers I deal with, and we talk to people at the city. and I got some guys that help me on the project management side. It's like, I'm not constantly on the phone. I don't have, 1,000 emails a day.
That is so good.
I mean, that part, I love all that part. I mean,
I'm so glad you just brought
a lot.
I've never
stress.
thought about that part, honestly, till you just said it. That is exactly right. Right. So, okay. So you come across our ad or whatever on Facebook, and it's like, okay, great. Another guy that's promising the world, too good to be true, blah, blah, blah. What made you finally go ahead and sign up anyways?
I think it was just, I knew I needed help. Like, I quickly figured out, like, I need somebody on my team. Like, I'm in over my head. So I need to have a resource to go to with questions, because they were already happening. And it was like, it just became like kind of a no-brainer, after thinking about it. It's like, I've got, this is the course that's designed for exactly what I'm getting involved in. Right? Actually, I didn't even know what I was getting involved in. I need, I'm in the middle of something, and I need to figure out what I'm doing and how to get out of it with the best results. So at some point after thinking about it, I was like, okay, this is easy. I gotta write that check or send that, send that credit card.
Well, I guess that helped, right? I guess that helped because you knew you wanted to be in the space, right? And so here's the reality that I know of. I'm the only one out there teaching entitlements, right? So governmental approvals, jurisdictional approvals for development. And so that probably made it easier. But anyways, I appreciate you again for doing it. And I'm glad we delivered for you on value. What do you wish? Okay. And by the way, I promise you we're going to get into the numbers. Hang with us. You're gonna be amazed.
It's worth it.
Life changing. It changed Mike's life forever. But so you mentioned the less emails, less phone calls, all that, doing this versus what you were doing prior. So, and by the way, I said earlier, yes, my questions are scripted that my team wants me to ask, but I need you to know Mike didn't know what questions I was going to ask him before we literally just jumped on Zoom. And none of his responses are scripted or we asked him to say something. He's here to be authentic. I'm here to be authentic. But when you mention those less emails, less phone calls, I would assume there's some other benefits just besides this huge payday you're about to tell us about. And then I know you got another deal that's about to close too. There's got to be other benefits you've gained in your life relative to this business model versus how you used to operate. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's less stressful. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not stressful, but there's not just constantly things going on that need to be, kind of fires that need to be put out all the time. So yeah, stress levels down, definitely working less hours. I mean, really kind of a normal work week now, not having to do stuff on the weekends. So more time with my wife, kids, and just to do other stuff, hit the gym, hit the golf course, tennis courts, whatever, we've got the Hurricanes out here, our hockey team. So, just all around more time and more energy for the stuff other than work. So that I would say big improvement in the work-life balance, just because, there's just a lot less moving parts. You're just dealing with, like I said, a lot less phone calls, less people, less emails, less of everything. So in this case, I would say less is more in this case, 100%.
That's cool. All right. Well, that's good to hear. Cause one of my latest personal slogans, I have the bracelet on and I actually have the pillars on my wall right here. But one of my latest slogans is one legacy, right? And you have one legacy, I have one legacy, everybody has one legacy. And it's like, we can go make all the money in the world, but if all the other pillars in our life are failing, we ultimately failed, right? Like finance is only one component of our lives. So it's really neat when, and I can vouch for it because I feel the same way about my life, Mike, is that because of this business model, that, as you know, it's a very niche business model, right? So I am the only one teaching it. And I've done all gamuts of real estate development, and I've had to get bloodied up, and I've had to go through some really tough trials and tribulations to finally fine tune it and sculpt it into this model that, when you think about a lot of those guys that are out there that make it tough for education guys like me, where they're pitchy, high, all these promises, and then they don't fulfill, the model doesn't quite play out the way that they pitched it, is I think the key is to get educated by those that are actually doing it, right? Like, because here's the reality. If it wasn't all that it was made out to be, I would just take what I've learned and just teach it, but I wouldn't actually do it, right? But the thing is, I do it.
Yeah,
and so,
still doing it.
Yeah,
still doing it.
I'm growing it,
scale.
right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing it more. But
you didn't stop doing it and start teaching it. You're doing it and teaching it, and which is even harder. Which is
all
good.
Right. So I'm going to dive into the details of your deal, and I'm just going to have what they have for me on the screen here. So, how did you find this deal specifically?
So this deal was brought to me by a guy who's a broker, who's a buddy of me. A buddy of mine. He said, "I've got this deal. I don't have the money to do it. I think it's a great deal." It was actually on the market for a bit, and they were starting to get offers. So it was like, it's not going to last. So you want in? And I said, well, let's check it out. And it looked like, the story behind it was good. So I bit and got under contract, and then had to figure out what I was doing. So that's part of the reason I found VestRight, is because it's like, this is big, this is big. I gotta, I don't want to screw this up.
Yeah. What's great about that, because obviously, Mike, as I teach off-market prospecting, right? So that's a big thing for me, because I want to be in control of my own deal flow, because that's how I can scale my business, not just wait for a property to be listed or a broker to call me or whatever. But people, when you hear what Mike did with this deal, continue to hang with me. You are going to be amazed. I would be amazed. There's very few people that are going to watch this video that, I'll just put it to you this way. For most of you, Mike made more on this one deal than you've made in your whole lifetime. Okay. So just hang with me, but it's important that I lay the framework, right? So because everybody just wants to know what you made, and we're not going to get into that yet, but we'll get there.
Save it for last. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is cool about your story is, and by the way, I'm doing some on-market deals right now too, very few of them, but I'm doing a few of them. But it's like, you made this type of money on a deal that was actually listed for sale, right? That makes it even more beautiful, because anybody, if they would have made the moves you made, or knew what you knew, or was willing to be resourceful the way you were, had this same opportunity, right? Because it was for sale on the open market. So it's just so cool. So this is so funny, because the next question is, how receptive was the property owner to selling? Well, what do you mean? It was already for sale. So that was not an issue.
Yeah, they were definitely motivated. So it was definitely a seller that wanted to sell. So that made it easier. But the fact that it was on the market, then the risk was more competition. So I would say ideally, off market is much better. I mean, some of the subsequent deals that we've been looking at, off market is better. But people go, hey, how do you find deals? And it's like shotgun approach, on market, off market, word of mouth, knocking on doors, whatever, however you can find them,
Yeah.
you find them. That's it. Just find deals.
So from the time you got it under contract, okay,
Yeah.
to the time that you actually got your payday or made your profit, how long was that?
Just shy of 3 years.
Just shy of 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long process.
Okay. So 3 years. And let me ask the question a different way. Okay. 3 years. And it's because you were waiting for some utilities, right? So I know you were waiting for some utilities on this piece of property is why it took 3 years. Or a plant was built, right? Actually, why don't you just tell that story real quick? Why did it take 3 years?
Yeah. Well, the background is this is an area, it's kind of in between. You got Durham up here, Raleigh here, and this was a rural area in between, a part of the Durham ETJ. And City of Durham just decided, hey, we want to develop this area. So they put up the money to build a sewer treatment plant to service this whole area, service 14,000 houses, maximum 14,000 houses in this area. So they put up the money and they announced that they were going to build this plant. So the good news is, we got this property under contract before that announcement. It's kind of rumored, so there took a little bit of a chance, but that's probably why it was still on the market. Yeah, and then it was a process of just the City of Durham takes forever, and this was all middle of COVID. Everything slowed down, and everybody, all the city personnel was working at home. So what should have taken 18 months took 24, 25 months. It took forever just to get in front of City Council. So just the whole process got stretched out. But
so you got it under contract. What date?
October 2019.
October 2019. So that means it closed end of 22 sometime.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So 3 years. And you joined VestRight when?
2021.
Fall of 22? No, fall of 21.
21, yeah, fall of 21.
So you had it under contract for about 2 years, right? About 2 years, and then you found VestRight. Is that 1 year, and then you found VestRight? Is that right? Yeah.
No, it's 2 years. 2 years. I was in the middle of it. Like we hadn't even got to City Council, but I was already realizing like there's so many things going on here that I need that
makes sense.
Yeah, that I was, dealing with trying to get City Council approval and wetlands and surveys and easements and all kinds of things. So I was in the middle of that, but realizing that
you were over your head. Yeah,
and
people got to remember you had already been in real estate for for 20 years. Yeah. You had already done some small development, right? 4 or 5 lots, whatever. You'd built homes. So you had enough knowledge to be dangerous.
Right.
But all of a sudden, when you're playing at this level of these bigger deals, even though they don't take more work, you better get that education. So fall of 19 under contract, join VestRight, fall of 21, 2 years later, you get paid, let's just call it fall or into 22, right? So that's kind of the timeline. Do you, and it's okay if the answer is yes, okay? But I just we're being transparent here. Are you confident you would have gotten the deal approved with or without VestRight?
I don't know. I mean, it certainly helped. I mean,
yeah,
like we've been talking about. There's not it's the big decisions that make the difference. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take the I don't know.
I can't.
I'll take the I don't know because that means that.
But
you're not sure if you would have got it approved without VestRight. So I'm okay with the I don't know.
But there is we'll get to something where part of the story where VestRight was critical and really, really did help the deal.
Okay.
It's coming.
Okay, we'll get there.
It's coming.
All right.
It's coming.
Let me ask you another question. Do you think you would have made near as much money as you made if it wasn't for VestRight?
Yeah, that's the part that's very different.
Okay.
So
Okay.
That was the critical part.
Okay, so what we'll do is when we get to the profit, I want you to be open about how much more money you think you made because of the VestRight course. But
yeah, we can get into exact detail. You want to do it right now?
Yeah. So first, before we do that, how did you find your buyer, your builder?
Well,
the builder. I know they're a build to rent, right? They're building it to keep it. How did you find them?
So initially, it was under contract with a national builder.
Okay.
And so it was under contract at the beginning of 2021. Everything's moving forward, but we don't have all our easements in place, all of our approvals in place. And so ultimately they backed out in December of 2021. But they didn't want to back out.
December 21. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the whole critical part of this deal. So they wanted to extend. I extended them one time and they wanted to keep extending. And this is where I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should I extend? Should I not extend? And this is where I'm jumping on the calls every week with David and going, hey, what do you think? What about, if I do extend, what, should I get more money? So all the nuances of the deal of, because the builder's like, well, we just want to extend. We don't, we're not going to give you any more money. And I'm trying to figure out like, how does this work in a real transaction?
What's the norm, right?
I've never been involved in this kind of deal on this kind of scale with this kind of buyer. So that was the whole part, the most critical part of it. And ultimately what happened is I terminated the deal with them. So I don't know that I would have had the confidence to do that, because that was scary. That was scary.
That makes sense, right? Because even if you know how entitlements work, all this, well, now the inner workings of the industry and what's normal, they want an extension. Should I give it to them? If I give it to them, should I get more money from them? Should I not? Is that on industry standard? Like, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I didn't know where to push back and not push back. And so that's where VestRight came into play. And ultimately, the deal was good enough and I felt confident. This was end of 2021. The market was still red hot. Yeah. And I felt confident enough to terminate it and put it back on the market. So, and ultimately,
that's awesome.
Originally it was under contract for 10.6.
Okay.
And ultimately we put it back on the market and just kept getting bid after bid, and people that just
we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
So make a note of that, everybody. He had originally had the deal under contract with a buyer for $10.6 million, it sounded like.
Yeah, 350 lots.
250 lots. 350 lots approved, like we teach at VestRight, how to get those governmental approvals. 350 lots for 10.6. So remember, no shovel in the ground, no construction done, but 10.6. And through VestRight and working with us and our Q&A and all that and our live stuff, you got comfortable enough with how the industry worked and the asset you had that you killed the deal with them. Okay, so that's good. Okay. All right. So, but remember 10.6 because remember, because he had that confidence, you're going to hear about what he ended up selling it for. Because remember, these builders, yes, we care about them. They're our buyers, they're our clients, but at the end of the day, they are very much focused on what's good for them. Okay. They don't necessarily have the same one legacy slogan that we all do. So, they are very focused on themselves, and that's okay. Like, that's how most businesses are.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's just business. So okay, let's just get into it. How much did you buy the land for? How much did you put the land under contract for?
$6 million.
Okay, so people, make a note. $6 million is what he got control of the land for. How much did, over that 3-year period? Because remember, his deal, by the way, Mike's deal took longer than most of our deals. It took, somewhere between 2 to 3 times longer than our typical deal, but it also turned out to be a really good deal. And it's because he was waiting for these capital improvements, this infrastructure to be done by the jurisdiction, which, by the way, we do those deals too. But just keep in mind, it's a longer time frame than typical, but when we get into this payday or the profit, it's well worth it. And remember, his phone is still ringing 10 times as less and getting 10 times as less any emails as his old business model. And so, okay, so 6 million. And then over that period of time, how much money did you have to invest in the deal as far as earnest money? Okay. Yeah. And then entitlement costs. How much money was that?
Just shy of 650,000.
Just shy of 650,000 for 350 lots.
Yeah, combination. I mean, we had to do some extensions and EMD and additional EMD and engineering and site plan and surveys, all the good stuff. So yeah, right around 650.
And how much, do you know approximately how much of that 650 grand was what you did with the seller as far as like earnest money and extensions and all that stuff? Like how much of that 650 went to the seller, or I could say it a different way, how much of that 650 went to like jurisdictional fees and consultants like engineers? Do you know off the top?
Yeah, it was probably right around 200 grand to the sellers, because there were 2 sellers. So we had to independently kind of pay extensions.
That's about right. So 200 grand.
450 on all the entitlements and due diligence and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Did we figure about 1,000 to 1,500 a lot to get through entitlements? So that's right there, right? Okay. All right. So now you're gonna do it 650. So that's 6.65 is the basis. And I know, and Mike, I just know this from previous conversation when I talked to you the other day, that 650, part of it was your money, part of it was investor money. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Right. Okay. And everybody, I want you to keep in mind that, Cody, I don't have the 650 grand. Okay. Well, remember, that's okay. If you want to, Allied will fund the deal. If you want us to do it, we'll fund it. Or if you want to bring in an investor, bring in an investor. Or if you want to bring in friends and family, brings in friends and family. And even certain students aren't doing any of that. They're actually getting their buyer to put up the 650, right? But it's just that our graduate, our student, is the one that runs the entitlements, but the buyer actually capitalizes. So quit using capital as your excuse of why you can't make this pivot. And I mean, this model changed Mike's life forever. It's changed my life forever. Quit using the money as a reason why you can't, because that's just an excuse. Okay, so you're now into it for 6.65. I'm going to grab my calculator. You're now into it for 6.65.
I just want to say, I did both the friends and family, and at the very end got the builder to finish off the entitlements because we were basically out of money. So combination of all that.
Oh, I love that. So it was Mike's money, it was friends and family money, and it was buyer money.
Yeah, all the above.
I love it. So you originally had it sold, because we're going to get to what you ended up selling for. You originally had it sold for 10.6, and we don't need to get into what you paid your investor and all that, because that's all subjective. There's a million different ways to structure these deals with investors. But so you basically were originally going to make about $4 million on the deal. Okay. Yep. So let's just stop right there. So I just said that correctly. They had 650 grand in, and I know there's some other moving parts or whatever, Mike, but my point is most people can never even fathom making $4 million in their whole lifetime. Okay. Let alone a decade. Let alone on one deal. Okay. Yeah. So, but you said earlier, through some of your interactions with our team and the live calls and Q&A and the program, our course and all that, you had the confidence that you killed that deal for 10.6. And what did you end up selling the deal for?
Eventually we had like 5 bidders, both build to rent and national builders, and all the big guys, bidding against each other, and we ended up at 17.
Wow. So,
I
real quick, we're going to celebrate that in a second, but
yeah,
just because I want to do the math. So rough numbers would be 17 million, right? 17 million minus 6.65. So what my calculator says is 10,350,000, right? So I'm going to be vulnerable with y'all for a second. Okay. That's an 8-figure profit. Mike just set the record. This is me being transparent, vulnerable. That 10.35, Mike, is more than I've ever made on a deal. Okay. So Mike, on his first deal with my model, and I'm calling it my model because it's my model, he made more on one deal. And I know you got investor splits and different crap and all that, but my point is, I just want to be open. He made more on one deal than I've ever made in my 21-year career. So I want you to know that. And these are not typical results, okay? is that, yes, does Ally deal, we won't look at any deal that we can't make 7 figures on, okay? And I have deals that I'm making, $1 million on, and I have deals that I'm making $6-7 million on, okay? But I've never had a deal show a higher performa than $7 million profit, okay? Now, this is all with the same business model, and it's all very limited capital, right? Because remember, it's whatever earnest money you strike with the property owner plus, say, $1,000 to $1,500. Some areas of the country, maybe $2,000, but a lot to do this process. But dude, I just want to celebrate you on that. If I had a boom that could come up on the screen right now, and the screen would just celebrate and just, dude, I honor you in that. Like, good job.
It was it was a very good day. So, I feel very fortunate, a lot of hard work, a lot of luck, and I had a lot of help from a lot of people, including VestRight. So yeah, that was a big day. I remember, everybody was asking me, like, did the money come in? Did you get the wire? And, I kept refreshing my computer and finally got the wire, and then, just cried for about 10 minutes.
Dude, I can tell you're emotional just thinking about it. I love that, brother.
It was, just as a man, you strive to, to support your family and to have that. And I just knew,
wow,
I was there. I had done it,
dude. So good.
climb the mountain right there, and had, finally achieved this kind of, thing that I've been striving, for decades to try to get that, financial independence.
Wow. So, and you're now financially independent.
Yeah.
You have more time freedom than you've ever had, even though you're still doing the model. You have more time freedom than you've ever had, and made more money than you've ever made in your life.
Yeah, we're not stopping.
And dude, I am so humbled and thankful that I know that because I had the conviction to start VestRight, that I've been able to have an influence on that journey. And I just want to thank you for trusting us enough. And dude, I am so proud to say that you made more on one deal than I ever have. Like, that's just sick,
I'm surprised that it was
awesome.
Good. I mean, there was definitely some luck, but I'll take it.
Would you say that has this changed your life forever?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's taken a lot of pressure. I mean, now I can focus, really 100% on this business, and even, bring in some people to help out. I mean, I took the money and exchanged into some commercial properties, which now spit off cash flow. So that was always been an issue, is having cash flow coming in every month. So now that I have that, I can feel confident about kind of bringing on more team members and spending more on marketing, knowing that I've got this recurring revenue. So
here's the reality. You don't ever have to work again. You would never have to work again if you didn't want to.
Yeah,
That's just the reality.
this is true. This is
So
true.
that's just amazing. Okay, so
I am
better
working,
yet,
I am
though.
working less. There's no doubt
So
about it.
better yet, though, or not better yet, but what's really cool is Mike's not a one-hit wonder. You got other deals in the works right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's, we were, focusing on this model. So as part of that, we've got a couple other deals going, and always looking for more. I mean, I
Yeah.
love the model. I love the, the whole home building process, but I'm enjoying not actually building the homes, but just being part of creating communities and creating, neighborhoods and housing for people.
Amen.
In a different, in a different way than I was doing it before, really in a bigger way than I was doing it before.
Yep.
And I'm just going to keep doing that because, I mean, with what's going on now, with the supply chain shortage and interest rates, I mean, the demand is just going up and up, and the supply's not there. So we're gonna end up in the same boat if we're not continuing to provide the supply. So it's,
I think
great.
we have some exciting times coming up for our model. I think we're gonna do some great things. Because I think you have one closing in the next couple of months, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe on that one you'll make 7 figures. Is that right?
I have one closing hopefully Friday. Knock on wood, So
closing on Friday. Just tell me roughly, like, what's the approximate profit on the deal? Can you just tell me that?
This one's about 2.5. 2.5.
He's got another one closing on Friday. Knock on wood. He's not going to count his chickens for he hatches. He's going to make another $2.5 million. Yeah. Well, how many lots is that one?
97.
97. So he's making another $2.5 million on 97 lots.
Another, another build to rent builder, different group, but another build to rent. Those guys are a little bit more aggressive and willing to pay a little bit more. And there's so much money chasing that niche right now that it's hard for the builders to compete. I don't know how long it's going to last, but
yeah,
for me, for now,
your neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's in Raleigh. That's outside, just east of Raleigh, and that one had a similar story where it was under contract with a builder, and they backed out for whatever reason, and we put it back on the market and got we ended up getting more money. So,
yeah.
And
when you say put it out on the market, are you just listing it? Is that what you're doing with a real estate agent, or how are you putting it out on the market?
Yeah, so I've got a buddy who's a commercial broker. Actually, I've over the years gotten to know some of the big land brokers in the Raleigh market. So I usually go through those guys, and they blast it out to their list of land act guys. But since I've been doing this business, now I know I probably know 2/3 of the guys in the Raleigh market. So I don't necessarily need a broker anymore for future deals. I mean, I could just go direct to these guys and go, hey, I got this project, 150 lots, and you guys interested? So
that's awesome.
Cut out the middleman. I don't. I feel like my knowledge is high enough now. I can do the deals on my own. I don't need the hand-holding along the way like I did the first time around.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody watching this right now could ever say they know of another business model that even remotely touches this. I don't know of one. I'm not saying that just because it's been my life, but I just don't know. I mean, show me another freaking model that a guy like Mike, don't get me wrong, Mike's super smart, great guy, likable, all that, but he can go into this, and the guy has now set himself up for life. And we just talked about an 8-figure payday and a $2.5 million payday. Hopefully, Lord willing, knock on wood, coming on Friday. Like it just doesn't. And then you look at the capital, right? Like it was $650 capital on the first one we talked about, and on this next one, do you mind me asking approximately how much earnest money and how much entitlement costs? Just approximate.
Yeah, I would say 350.
350. So, gosh, man, Mike, gosh, you only made $2.5 million on 350. Right? I know it hasn't come in yet. It comes in on Friday. But here's my moral of the story. Okay. I understand the unknown is scary, right? It's fear. Fear is bullshit. I just want people to get educated, Mike, and I'm not saying this just to say it. Hearing your story, seeing you get emotional just a minute ago is a huge blessing for me, brother. Like I'm building my one legacy and I need more Mikes. Okay. I just do.
Yeah.
And so
it's
there. It's achievable, man. Like,
yeah.
So which leads me to the next question. Would you recommend our program to anybody?
I would say not.
Let me phrase it.
It's not anybody. Yeah. It's not for anybody.
So do this. I want you to dive into that. I asked the question, and by the way, I asked it in the wrong way, but I'm glad I did. Would you recommend this program to anybody? And the answer is probably no, unless you're willing to do this, or think this. Like, who would you recommend this program to?
I think it's ideal for somebody that's, been doing real estate and just kind of hit the plateau. They're looking for something else, something different, better, maybe less, with a lot less competition. And again, like we were talking about, a lot less moving parts where you're dealing with, subcontractors and realtors. And, here you're dealing with just a handful of people. So, but, it's only worthwhile. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. So it's just, you're never going to have any success dabbling here. This is not, you just got to go all in, because these deals are a big commitment of time, and it takes, you're not going to find a deal right out of the gate. You're going to start looking, and you're going to analyze deals, and then you're going to figure out, well, they don't work, they don't pencil out. You just have to dive into it. It's not to me, it's not a dabble business. You've got to be willing to commit to it, because it's going to take time to learn what you're doing, what you're looking for, to get a deal under contract, and then to get it through due diligence. So to me, there's a big commitment. So it's only going to be somebody that's willing to kind of dive in and commit to you don't come the business. Yeah, you can't do it. You can do it part-time. This is going to take you a little bit longer, but you still have to commit to
100
the learning curve, and it's a numbers game. We look at a lot of deals, and we're getting better at it, but at first we didn't know if it was a deal or not a deal. We had to run around and spend a lot of time just educating, is this a deal? And so but over time we got better and better at that. So, I'd say it's, anybody who's looking for, like we said before, I would consider this a blue ocean strategy, meaning it's not 100 people going after every deal. And it's not, you've talked about this, all the time. The difference in this business model is you are going to the seller and you are paying what the property is worth. You don't need to buy it at a discount. You're giving them what it's worth, or you're even giving them more than it's worth based on some future value, because you can add value. So that's beautiful. To me, you're not, there's nothing kind of unsavory about it. It's like, this is what it's worth. And you're also educating them on the process, because they don't know. A lot of these folks
sell through education.
Own this land for hundreds of years in North Carolina. It's these farmers, and they know they've got, they're smart. They know they have something valuable, but they don't understand the process and what, why you need 12 months or 18 months. So, but they like that you're willing to, give them a good price for their property. So being able to come with that right out of the gate, they want to come and meet with you and talk with you. And then that's your chance to build a rapport and to kind of explain the whole process. And then, then they're not surprised, they get what's going on. So then they appreciate it. They want to know what's going on.
So I don't know if Mike would say this or I'm sure he would, but what he just communicated is right out of our program. We believe in selling through education, like educating the property owner. because the goal is through educating them, you build trust, and trust is the foundation of every relationship. And in my opinion, the best, you want to close deals, you want to get deals done, build trust. It's the most valuable tool out there. And so that's really cool. And by the way, when Mike, I want you to make sure everybody makes note of this. When Mike mentions land acquisition guy, he's talking about the land acquisition guy at the buyer, right? So when he's selling to the build to rent guy or a build to sale guy, like a public home builder, like a whoever, DR Horton, Lennar, KB, Pulte, whoever, they have people on their team called land acquisition people. And that's usually who we deal with when we're selling them a deal. All right. Last question. For existing students, Mike, is there anything you can say to them or that you would like to say to them or communicate? Because let's just say they're struggling. And I'm going to stop right here before I forget. One thing Mike also said a minute ago that is very, very important to hear is he said, yes, you can do this as a side hustle, part-time or full-time. Obviously, it's going to take longer if you do it as a side hustle or part-time. But the biggest thing that he talked about that I 100% agree with is don't try to come do this and go at it half-ass. If you're going to go at it half-ass, just don't even buy the program. Don't even buy the course. Like, you need to commit. You got to commit. You got to commit. But anyways, because that might be one of the suggestions to existing students or graduates is there anything you can share with them? Maybe words of encouragement, or maybe it's something they need to think about, or maybe they're stuck or they're struggling. Like, is there anything you would like to communicate to them or anything you'd like to share with them that they might find inspiring?
Yeah, well, I would say, if you stick with it, this can be the result. I mean, the home building industry is not going away. The demand is not going away. And, a lot of people are scared right now, the economy and so forth, but these guys have got to keep building land, keep building houses, and coming out of this is going to be even greater demand. So the opportunity is better now than I think even it was a year ago, because now the landowners are getting, they're getting less interest from other people. They're more interested in selling. So to me, this is a golden opportunity this year to lock up some deals. There's less competition from people. Yep. To me, people do ask me like, hey, what should I do? And I say, just, focus on one step at a time. You don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about these things that are not going to really come into play until 12 months down the road. Focus on just the basics. Start getting some deal flow, because if you just get one deal, it may or may not go. So you got to have multiple deals going, talking to multiple people, because the more you talk to them, the better you're going to get at it. You're going to understand more. You're going to talk to the engineer. You're going to learn more. You're going to talk to the county planner. You're going to learn more. So just keep doing the process, and don't worry about the finish line. Just keep looking for a deal, hopefully find a deal, get it under contract, get to the next step, but even the next step in the course, learn as you're going along, and you'll be fine. I mean,
that's great advice.
And jump on the calls, because to me, I still get on the calls. I still have questions that come up. I mean, it can be any aspect of the business. There's somebody out there probably on the team that's been there, done that.
That's great advice. I love it. It's deal flow. Keep putting in the reps. We got to rep it. All right. So in closing, Mike, is there any last words you have or anything else you want to say related to this deal you did, your experience as a student or a graduate, anything at all you want to share in closing?
Yeah, well, it's been a fun ride. I've enjoyed kind of growing as VestRight is growing and Allied's growing, and you're still learning, I'm still learning, and having the ability to have folks that are dealing with the same thing, going through the same thing, learning the same things, having the same challenges, and being able to bounce stuff back and forth. To me, that's the best part of it. And, without it, it just would be many, many times harder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. You just mentioned something else I never thought of, and that is we're all in it together, including me, right? Like I'm still learning every day too. Like you never stop learning. I always run into something that I've never ran into before. And I
market's changing all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that said, Mike, thanks so much for sharing and being open with us.
Sure.
You were transparent, and I know that's going to make an impact. And for all of you, I thank you so much for watching. I have no idea where my team is posting this video, but if there's somewhere you can like it, subscribe to my channel, right? And there should be a link somewhere below me, maybe in my bio if we're on Instagram, but wherever there's a link, if you want to learn more about VestRight and the program that Mike went through and what I do every day, and just click the link. And if you enjoyed this content and Mike being open and sharing, go consume some of our content. And we hope we can be a part of your journey as well. With that said, take care.